It's been 5 years since I got engaged to Mike. Out of the blue, he secretly tied the knot with a female college student. When I showed up, there they were, deep in a kiss, cheered on by the crowd. Spotting me, Mike just raised an eyebrow and said, "Chill, girl." She wanted a wedding, but we never filed the paperwork. I didn't break down or cause a fuss. I just turned and walked away. He probably thought I was bummed until that snobby dude posted a pic of their marriage certificate. Mike pounded on my door in the heavy rain, looking desperate. I opened it, my cheeks still rosy. "Don't stress, I just grabbed the certificate. We're not officially hitched." Jake, wrapped in just a towel, came downstairs and hugged me around the waist. "So I'm not officially your husband." The wedding scene was buzzing. Guests were urging the couple to kiss. The bride looked bashful in her gown, and Mike held her head, deepening the kiss bit by bit. I stood there, stunned, watching them kiss passionately on stage. Mike's buddy noticed me and shouted, "Amanda!" Suddenly, the lively vibe went silent. I walked over to Mike. The little girl awkwardly tried to hide behind him. Mike didn't seem embarrassed being caught by his fiancée. He pulled the girl closer with a smirk. "Chloe's been wanting to marry me, but don't worry, we didn't file the papers. You're the only one who'll ever be my wife." Mike and I had been friends since childhood. After graduating, our families arranged our engagement. He was known as a player, always switching girlfriends, which was embarrassing for me. I forced a faint smile and reached into my bag, pulling out a square brocade box. "This is your family's heirloom bracelet. I'm giving it back." Mike took it, fiddling with it in his hands, and laughed sarcastically. "So, you took the bracelet just to end things?" I saw the disbelief in his eyes. "Mike, our engagement ends today. From now on, we can live our lives separately. No strings attached." His face changed instantly. "Amanda, say that again." Seeing things escalate, his friend quickly stepped in. "Amanda, calm down. This wedding isn't real. Mike's just playing around. You're the one he really wants to marry." Watching my fiancé marry another woman like this was a huge spectacle. I didn't cry or make a scene. I calmly turned to leave. "Mike, you should go after Amanda." Mike confidently replied, "What's there to chase? This isn't the first time. She'll come back in a few days. You've never made such a fuss before. No girl would accept her guy marrying someone else. You should go check on her." Mike glanced toward the door, his dark eyes narrowing slightly. Chloe suddenly grabbed his sleeve. "Can I see that bracelet?" After leaving the wedding venue, I called my best friend Rachel to grab some drinks. When she arrived and saw 2 empty bottles, she knew exactly what went down. "Did you break up with Mike again? Did he find a celeb or a college girl this time?" Hearing Chloe's name made my heart ache like a needle. "He got married today." After I filled her in, Rachel grabbed a bottle, ready to vent her frustration. "You should have dumped him ages ago. I'll send you a link with the best guys in our circle. Take your time to browse." My phone started buzzing nonstop. Within minutes, over 30 people had messaged me. I needed to use the restroom in the hallway when a man in a suit, looking out of place, stood there. His shirt collar was casually unbuttoned as he leaned against the wall, smoking and looking kinda intimidating. Maybe he sensed my gaze. He frowned and looked over. "Jake, what's he doing here?" I walked over, flashing a light smile. "Mr. Jake, can I borrow a smoke?" He raised an eyebrow. "Weren't you a good girl after getting with Mike? Aren't you scared he'll find out you smoke?" I didn't reply. He leaned closer, teasing. "I heard he threw a big wedding for another girl today. Are you two breaking up?" I reached for a cigarette and lighter. After lighting it smoothly, I exhaled a puff of smoke, giving him a slight smile. "Want to come over tonight?" Our eyes met. His intentions were clear. Jake chuckled and put out his cigarette. I suddenly remembered he was known for not being into women and was about to joke. "Just kidding." To my surprise, he was down for it. Jake unlocked my door with my fingerprint and then pressed me against it. His strong hand held the back of my head as he kissed me straight on. "Amanda, you're a freak. Be gentle when you bite." I frowned slightly. "Can you stop talking? Right now you need to leave me speechless." All night long, Jake showed me what reckless speaking really meant. I only dozed off at dawn, and then my phone rang. I could barely open my eyes, fumbling for it on the bed. A light chuckle came from beside me as Jake grabbed my phone. Seeing it was a video call from Mike, his expression darkened immediately. He handed me the phone, pulling the blanket up to my collarbone. I answered, forcing my sleepy eyes open. Mike smiled coldly. Didn't you say yesterday that we could part ways? How come less than a day later you're talking to my mom about Chloe? Who went to your mom? Are you crazy? What are you making a scene for so early in the morning? As soon as I opened my mouth, I froze. My voice was hoarse. Mike asked, puzzled, "Do you have a cold?" I smiled lightly. "What are you pretending not to understand?" He realized what I meant and suddenly raised his voice, leaning closer to the phone. "Where are you? Who are you with? Miss, we're no longer together. Where I am and who I'm with is none of your business." I was too tired to talk, so I ended the video call directly. At the bar, Mike looked unhappy. "Amanda hung up on you? She wouldn't actually be serious about breaking it off, would she? Impossible! This is just Mike's old trick to threaten her. If she really wanted to end it, she'd be able to let go. Clearly, she's just putting on a show, pretending to be with another guy to make you jealous, hoping you'll chase after her first. This kind of trick is so common now." Everyone laughed. Mike's expression softened a bit. The original sleepiness from the phone call was gone, and I frowned unhappily. Jake noticed, "What's so great about Mike? He was such a player before marriage. He won't stick with you after. He's not worthy of you." I looked up puzzled. Jake picked up a cigarette from the bedside table, lit it, and suddenly got serious. "When it comes to family connections, mine are no worse than theirs." "What are you trying to say, Mr. Jake?" Jake glanced at me. "I know you've always wanted to secure that East District development project, but it won't be easy on your own. If we got married and teamed up, it would be much easier." At that moment, I was fully awake. "With your skills, you could handle it alone. Why share the gains with me?" "Maybe I just don't want you to get a free ride," he replied. I couldn't help but smirk, pondering for a few seconds before extending my right hand. "Let's work together." 40 minutes later, Jake and I walked out of the Civil Affairs Bureau. Holding the marriage certificate in my hand, I felt a bit dazed. "Let's go." "Huh? Are we meeting the client now?" Jake patted my head with a smile. "We're going on our honeymoon?" We put on our diving gear and plunged into the azure sea, feeling the ocean's mystery and beauty, beautiful corals and schools of fish that we could almost touch. Jake and I exchanged a hand signal, indicating for me to follow him. As we descended to a certain depth, looking up, it felt like we were beneath a starry sky at the bottom of the sea. After resurfacing, the staff told me my phone had been ringing nonstop. I opened it, and dozens of messages popped up. "Hello, Miss Amanda. This is the manager of DK Bridal Shop. When are you available to try on wedding dresses?" "Hello, Miss Amanda. I'm the head of wedding planning. What kind of flowers do you like? We can arrange air transport for them." "Hello, Mr. Jake has ordered a diamond ring for you at our shop. When can you come in to try it on? If the size doesn't fit, it can be adjusted." Wedding dresses, flowers, rings. The more I read, the more my brows furrowed. Had my phone number been leaked? Just then, my phone rang again. I glanced at the screen. It was Mike calling. "Hello?" He answered with a questioning tone. "Where have you been? I've called you so many times, and the company said you took a month off. What I do is none of your business. Don't forget, we've broken up." Mike didn't seem bothered. He even laughed. "Aren't you just mad because I organized a wedding for Chloe? I'm arranging one for you, too. You should have received the messages and calls. Just tell them what kind of wedding dress and setup you like, and they'll arrange it for you." I was speechless. "Are you out of your mind?" Though I couldn't see his expression, I could imagine how Mike felt when he heard me say that. "Amanda, you're throwing a fit over the wedding. I'm now offering to plan one for you. What more do you want? You're not done sulking yet, are you? I'm telling you, this is your only chance. If you don't want to get married, then don't ever get married. That was Mike for you. If he offered something sweet and you didn't catch it in time, it was on you. You're crazy. We've broken up. Don't call me again. You can marry whoever you want." Mike kept repeating, "Good," on the other end of the line. "Amanda, I gave you a chance. You're the one rejecting it. Don't regret it." What a lunatic. Jake changed his clothes and asked, "Was that Mike on the phone?" I took a deep breath and replied, "Yeah, he thinks I'm mad because of a wedding, so he wants to plan one for me. I can't believe I was blind enough to date that guy." Jake chuckled, but but didn't say anything else. The next month, we visited the mysterious blue ice caves in Iceland and took a hot air balloon ride in Turkey. On the day we got back, Rachel asked me out. I had layered concealer several times but still couldn't hide the marks on my collarbone. I had to find a silk scarf from my wardrobe to tie around my neck. As soon as she sat down, she gulped down 2 glasses of wine. I'm so pissed. Mike has completely lost it. He rented all the electronic screens in the Capitol and had top stars record birthday wishes for that Chloe girl, playing them on repeat for a month. Doesn't he care about your feelings? I held my glass calmly and replied, I'm getting married. At first, Rachel didn't believe me until she saw the marriage certificate. Jake? He's known for being aloof with women. How did you manage to snag him? That's not important. What matters is Mike is nothing compared to him. I really want to see Mike's face when he finds out you're married to Jake. Her earlier anger faded. We have to celebrate tonight. I'll treat you. Rachel couldn't handle her drinks and got tipsy after a few bottles. I set my glass down and said, Stay put. I'll go get you some tea to sober up. In the hallway, I bumped into Phil. He eagerly approached. Amanda, you're here. Mike and the others are in box 6. I have nothing to do with Mike anymore. You all enjoy yourselves. Phil thought I was still upset. What Mike did was too much. Just give him a chance to apologize in person. We're in box 6. I'll head over first. And Amanda, you come over later, okay? To get back to box 3, I had to pass by box 6. I heard familiar voices. I stood at the door, peering through the crack. Mike was lounging on the sofa, his shirt buttons undone, and Chloe had swollen lips, clearly showing what had happened. Mike, I just saw Amanda at the door. I told you she can't let go of you. I didn't expect Amanda to hold out this long without contacting you. It's only been a month. I heard Mike is throwing a birthday party for another woman. She couldn't help but come back. Mike's expression was cold. Who let her come? We've broken up. Enough already. This is the first time Amanda hasn't contacted you for this long, right? Be careful. You don't want this to blow up. Yeah, Mike, you should ditch this girl quickly before Amanda gets pissed again. Mike glanced at Chloe obediently beside him. She lowered her head, her voice soft. Today is my birthday. I touched the silk scarf around my neck, took it off, and pushed the door open. All eyes turned to me. The marks on my neck were too obvious, even in the dim bar light. Mike noticed and stood up quickly. What's that on your neck? I remembered how Jake had left marks on me last night. I smiled and said, Hickeys. Mike kicked the nearby table, shadows in his eyes. Who did that? Amanda, you really went out and found another guy behind my back. Who did it matter to you? Mike sneered. Amanda, a decent act should be like a ghost. He continued. Amanda, if I ever contact you again, I swear I'm a mess. Rachel had drunk her tea and asked, Why were you gone so long? Mess, I replied. Rachel had drunk her tea and asked again, Why were you gone so long? I almost looked for her. Hearing things crashing in the next room, I said, I had to deal with something, or there'd always be flies buzzing around, which is annoying. Let's go. Since we both had been drinking, we called a designated driver. Before long, the college girl who married Mike entered the entertainment industry after graduation. After gaining some success, she hired a group of online commenters to post on my company's official account. Mr. Mike treats Chloe differently, willing to throw a grand wedding for her. I advise some people to part ways peacefully and not cling to being Mike's fiancé. The one not loved is the real third party. My assistant handed me a tablet. Should we delete the comments guiding public opinion, find out Chloe's scandals, sell them to reporters, and notify the media companies we work with to cut off any resources for her? Got it, I'll handle it. What if Mike tries to interfere? Don't worry about him. Just finish what I told you. An hour later, Chloe's comment section was in chaos. You're a third party. Hiding in the shadows is one thing. But how dare you openly provoke the original owner? I was in the same class as Chloe. She seemed sweet, but actually bullied me at school, using her family's wealth. I had many scars on my arms from her. She also stole the awards that should have been mine. Turns out she was like this in school. I'm Chloe's stand-in actress. In the crew, unless it's a must-show scene, I do all the rest. She can barely film a third of the scenes. The rest are done by stand-ins or edited in post. The most despicable one is Mike, changing girlfriends every few days. A guy like that should have been gone long ago. Mike, aren't you going to answer your girlfriend's calls? She's almost being dragged through the mud by netizens. Amanda is still the same. She holds a grudge against everyone except you. Mike didn't respond. Instead, he asked, "Has Amanda called you guys again these past few days?" The others exchanged glances. No. Are you deliberately hyping up Chloe to get on Amanda's nerves? I think you've got it wrong. Everyone knows about you and Chloe. Did Amanda even call you? Mike, if you really want to be with Amanda, just give in and call her. There's nothing to lose. If someone else swoops in first, then let her do what she wants. If she wants to break up, fine by me. I'm not losing anything over her. Later that night, I got a message from Rachel. By the way, I forgot to mention there's a rumor going around that Jake likes guys. Is he good at it? I couldn't help but laugh at the message, but before I could reply, I felt a shadow looming over me. Likes guys? I looked up and met Jake's knowing gaze. Why not find out tonight if I'm any good at it? By the time I realized what was happening, he was already on the bed. Maybe it was the alcohol, but my cheeks flushed. Just as desire peaked, I bit down on his shoulder. Outside, the rain poured heavily, while inside, tension thickened the air. My phone kept ringing nonstop on the nightstand. After we finished, Jake picked it up. It's Mike. Do you want to answer? My eyes reddened as I shook my head. Jake, he's clinging to you like a leech. It's hard for me to watch. Then why don't you just take the call? Maybe it was my imagination, but I thought I saw a glint of triumph in his eyes. As soon as I picked up, Mike's slurred voice came through. Amanda, I'm drunk. Come get me. I've been making a scene these past few days. Why haven't you checked on me? Jake scoffed. It's me! There was a moment of silence. And then Mike snapped, Jake, have you no shame? Playing the role of a third wheel. We're legally married. What's it to you if I call my wife in the middle of the night? Impossible. He suddenly softened his tone. Amanda, please come get me. I won't cause any more trouble. I steadied myself. Mike, I've been clear with you. You're just my ex. Jake raised an eyebrow, clearly satisfied. Without giving Mike a chance to respond, he hung up. Meanwhile, at the bar, Mike remained frozen after the call. I think this time Amanda really won't come back. Honestly, it's not entirely her fault. Mike has been way out of line these past few years. Sneaking around is one thing, but he always has to make a huge scene. You were engaged to Chloe, and the last girl you showered with gifts was a little star, right? If I were Amanda, I would have left you long ago. Enough. If she wants to break up, then let her. Besides, you don't even like Amanda. Mike didn't reply. He just grabbed his car keys and left. The others couldn't keep up. He can't drive after drinking. We're in trouble. He's out of sight, probably heading to find Amanda. Amanda, I want to post on IG. At that moment, Jake seemed completely different from usual, dangerously alluring. For reasons I couldn't explain, I nodded. Just a minute after posting, my phone buzzed with notifications. Is this for real? Congrats. Looks like you finally got what you wanted. But does Amanda know you've had a crush on her for so long? Wait, isn't that Mike's fiancé? What's going on? Congrats, congrats. Jake typed back a few comments while smoking and then went to take a shower. When I heard urgent knocking from downstairs, I tried to ignore it by covering my head with the blanket, but the knocking only got louder and more persistent. I slipped into a black camisole and went downstairs, guessing who it was. I pulled out the marriage certificate from the drawer. When I opened the door, my cheeks still flushed. Mike stood there, drenched from the rain. Amanda, I won't mess around anymore. Let's make up. I didn't think much of it at the time. I just thought it was one wedding. Nothing to threaten my position, so I agreed. I leaned weakly against the doorframe, glancing at the marriage certificate in my hand. I've got the license. We're just short of the wedding. When we have the wedding, we'll definitely invite Mike to celebrate. Jake, only wearing a towel around his waist, came down and hugged me around the waist. Mike clenched his fist. I considered you a friend, yet you're after Amanda? Jake grabbed his collar and punched him back. Don't you realize how much crap you've done? She put up with you for 5 years. You've been pushing her away all this time. They went back and forth, neither willing to back down. Mike stood in the rain, eyes glistening. Amanda, I'm drunk. Can you make me some soup to sober up? Jake cursed under his breath. With a loud bang, he slammed the door shut. He pinned me against the door, while the knocking continued outside. Amanda, when are we getting married? I want a title. You had such a grand engagement. Our wedding has to be even better. I tiptoed and kissed the corner of his mouth. Okay. The next day, I got a call from Phil. Mike crashed into a guardrail on the way back last night. The front of the car is totaled, but thankfully, he's not seriously hurt and is now in the hospital. Amanda, can you come see him? He won't eat or drink and refuses to cooperate with the doctors. He insists on seeing you. How many phone numbers do you have? He hesitated. Just this one. I hung up and blocked him. Why was Mike looking for me, his ex-fiancée, who's now married, instead of his parents or current girlfriend? Phil showed Mike the black screen of his phone. Mike, she really doesn't want you anymore. She even blocked my number. Mike stared at the chat box, silent. Later, when no one was watching, he left the hospital. I had been busy with the East District project. That day, when I returned to the apartment to grab some documents, I found Mike sitting in the flower bed downstairs, still in his hospital gown. He approached cautiously, calling out, Amanda. I pressed my fingers to my temples, exhausted. What do you want? Maybe because he was sick, he looked a bit frail. Jake is doing this on purpose. He's always had his eye on you. He wants us to break up so he can swoop in. Do you remember back in school when someone stuffed love letters in your backpack and you got really mad? That was Jake. What? Jake was so cold back then that we could only whisper about him. No one dared to ask for his contact. The love letter in my backpack was from Jake? He's jealous that I got engaged to you, so he's been trying to sabotage me. So, you're saying he forced you to date those celebs and college girls? He pressured you into having a wedding? Mike looked down, avoiding the topic. Amanda, I got caught in the rain and now have a fever. Can I come upstairs for some water? No, I'm married now. I dialed his mom's number. Okay, I'm on my way. When she arrived, she slapped him, exasperated. What are you doing here, embarrassing yourself? Just look at what you've done. I can't even face Amanda's parents because of you. Hurry up and leave. I have a few important meetings to attend, so I'll head out now. Okay, you go handle your business. I'll take care of this brat right now. I politely nodded and turned to leave. To my surprise, when I returned, Mike was still sitting there. He was wearing a thin hospital gown, and people passing by couldn't help but glance over. He stared blankly at the entrance of the community. As soon as he saw my car pull in, he immediately stood up. I took a deep breath. Not wanting to deal with him, I tried to walk past, but he blocked my way, pulling out the brocade box I had returned. I never intended to give this bracelet to anyone else. Can you please take it back? I smiled and opened my phone to find a photo. It was a selfie of Chloe wearing that bracelet. Mike quickly explained, that day when you left, she said she wanted to see it, so I gave it to her. She just tried it on for fun. I didn't want to waste time talking to him, so I shook his hand off and headed upstairs. When Jake returned, I saw them exchange a few words upstairs. And the next moment, they were fighting. I rushed down. Jake, what makes you think you're any better than me? Are you brave enough to tell Amanda about everything you've done? My cheating wouldn't have happened without your influence. That East District project was clearly your setup for her. Screw this collaboration. Amanda, don't let him fool you. Jake shot me a nervous glance. I took his hand, intertwining our fingers. I handed the wedding candy to Mike. Our wedding is on the 8th of next month. You're welcome to join us. Back in the room, Jake still seemed distracted. Some of what Mike said is true. I knew you wanted that East District project, so I used it as a cover to marry you. He cheated because I hinted to the manager at a party to bring girls he liked in front of him. I'm not as good as you think. I'm quite calculating. I looked into his eyes and said, I know exactly what kind of person Mike is. Even without you, he wouldn't stick to this life for long and would propose we go our separate ways. Jake froze. You're not mad at me. I chuckled softly. Of course not. I married you after careful consideration. Only naive girls think love is all that matters. I watched as the tension in Jake gradually eased. The East District project started smoothly. Our wedding preparations were also underway. One day, I was torn between using only chocolate for the wedding candies or mixing in various types. My phone pinged with a notification, "Your friend is live streaming." Curious, I clicked in. Mike was awkwardly kneeling on the ground, his pants visibly torn at the knees. He knelt with every word. "I'm sorry, Amanda." Kneeling with each step, he repeated, "I'm sorry, Amanda. I recalled when we first started dating, he said, if I ever hurt you, I'd kneel all the way to the mountaintop." Seeing such a chaotic scene, I fell silent for a minute. I quickly pulled out my phone to call him, but Mike didn't answer. The comments flooded the screen. After all, it's not every day you see a famous group's president in such a state. I watched the man in the video ignore my call. If he really intended to kneel all the way to the mountaintop, it would take at least a day and a night. Most importantly, it was humiliating. He kept muttering, "I'm sorry, Amanda." Phil called, "Amanda, even though Mike hurt you, he's burning up and hasn't recovered yet. Can you please pity him and give him a call? If you have time to call me, why not take a few people with you and knock him out to take him back to the hospital?" And so, Mike continued kneeling, not caring about others' opinions, ignoring any calls, and dismissing all advice. Phil and the others couldn't stop him, and could only let him do as he pleased. It wasn't until the next night that Mike finally reached the top. Exhausted, he fainted and was carried down by doctors. When I received a call from his mom, I was with mine, finalizing wedding details. "Amanda, I really don't have the face to ask you, but Mike wants to see you. We can't talk to him." My mom gestured for me to hand her the phone. "My daughter is getting married now, so it might not be convenient for her to see your son. How about this? I'll have my son-in-law run over. They know each other and we're good friends, so it might work." Mike's mom sighed. "If Jake goes, it might just provoke him more." "No way. As the saying goes, fight fire with fire. It's settled. I'll have Jake go over." At the hospital, I waited outside the ward. When Mike saw Jake, it was like enemies meeting, and sparks flew. "Jake, I can't believe you set me up. Since the first actress, I've been caught in your trap and can't escape. You can't control your lower half? Who can you blame? That's only because you kept scheming against me. Without your tricks, I wouldn't have ended up like this with Amanda." Outside, the gardenias were blooming. I stepped out for a moment, missing the rest of their conversation. I don't know what Jake said to him. In the following days, Mike didn't show up in front of me. I did run into Chloe a few times. "Can I talk to you?" She spoke with her head down, her voice very quiet. It was hard to connect her with the person who hired trolls to attack me online. Chloe kept her head down, her fingers nervously intertwining. Not speaking for a long time. Just as I was about to leave, she finally said, "I'm pregnant." I took a sip of coffee and replied, "What do you mean by coming to me? That child in your belly can't possibly be mine, right?" Chloe looked up, stunned. "The child is Mike's, but he doesn't want it. Can you talk to him for me? I'm willing to give up everything, even return all the things he gave me as long as he lets me have this baby." "You've got the wrong person. I have no reason to talk to him about this as his ex-fiancé, and stop pretending in front of me. Clearly, you know what's more important. This child or what Mike gave you." Chloe suddenly knelt down. "But right now, he only thinks about you. Without you, he might let me have this baby. His friends all say I'm the exception. Only I can make him marry me, right? He even gave me a ring, which means he's thought about marrying me. There are too many exceptions with Mike. Many girls received identical rings besides that pink diamond you have, if I remember correctly." Chloe couldn't believe it. "No way." "You're lying. Everyone says I've spent the longest time by his side. You must be lying. Did Mike ever promise you that ring was only for you?" Chloe opened her mouth but couldn't rebut. "See? He won't even bother to deal with you." Chloe wanted to say something else. I interrupted her. "I hope you won't appear in front of me again or come to the office because we really aren't that close. Assistant, please escort her out." After the assistant took her away, they knocked and came back in. "Boss, don't listen to Chloe's nonsense. That child in her belly isn't Mike's. My friend said ever since she was sidelined by the company, she's been trying every way to get re-signed, and you can probably guess how." I looked up at the assistant. "Continue to follow up on the East District project. As for trivial matters, don't report them to me." On the day of the wedding, the weather was beautiful. Friends from our circle all showed up. Congrats, congrats. I thought, you'd marry Mike, but didn't expect. Today is Amanda's wedding day. What nonsense are you talking about? I think Jake is miles better than Mike. Rachel has never liked Mike. At the wedding, she was even less willing to hear that name. I'm sorry. I really have a loose tongue. I smiled and didn't mind. Why don't you sit down first? The ceremony is about to start. The wedding venue was decorated in a Chinese style, grand and solemn. The wedding dress was specially made for me by Jake, with a magnificent outer layer embroidered with golden phoenixes, a phoenix crown atop my head, with gold tassels hanging down on both sides, the crown and veil draped over my shoulders. The union of two families, an agreement made, a good match forever, both recognized equally. After the ceremony, I changed into my toasting outfit. Phil said, Mike regrets it now. If he could do it again, he'd definitely cherish you. Phil was still chattering. I didn't notice Jake's unhappy face. I smiled and separated the two of us. After a busy day, I lay on the bed when I got home, and Jake took off my clothes for me in the bathroom. My back was against the cold wall, and the mist blurred Jake's and my eyes. He hooked my waist, and before I could come to my senses, his kisses had already fallen.